Have you ever tried to watch a movie without any feelings? For instance, if you were to pretend you were a fly on the wall with no skin in the game, just observing what's happening, and then leaving that experience with no feelings. You might have a couple thoughts, but no visceral feelings attached. Me neither. Um, although I will say that it might be helpful to pretend you could do that for some movies, like this one, which is I Care a Lot. Let's unpack this movie. I don't know if you do this when after you finish a movie, but sometimes when I finish one, I will look at reviews or read articles or whatever just to see what people think about it. Because at that point, I've already formed my own opinion on it, and I'm just curious to see whether or not other people's thoughts align with mine. And if they don't, I'm almost more curious to see why. For instance, if a movie is near universally acclaimed, a lot of people talk about how good it is, and you find a couple people who don't like the movie. I want to know why. I'm curious to know what about it they don't like, and I might not agree, but that's part of the fun of being open to opinions, open to hearing other people's thoughts and stuff, because all this is subjective anyway. But in the case of this movie, I'm going to tell you just from the outset, I did like this movie. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was well made. I thought it was well acted. So well, in fact, that I did have feelings, but they were less fiery than I found. The amount of vitriol and like outright hate for this movie that I found is surprising. And more so, the movie is one thing, but the characters, and specifically the primary character of Marla Grayson, played by Rosamund Pike. There is a lot of hate for this character. And she's not the first character that people have hated, but she's certainly the first one in recent memory that I found that has generated the level of hate that I've seen. I think some of it comes from the fact that a lot of Marla's actions and the world she operates in is scarily accurate to the world we live in. Some of this may be dramatized for the movie. What we see in the movie, there's a lot of stuff that happens that may or may not be fabricated, like just fantasy status for the movie, but the spirit of what's happening is true. There are real people in the world that exploit existing systems for their own gain, regardless of anybody's opinion, regardless of what happens to people who get caught in the crosshairs. It doesn't matter. As long as they succeed, that's what they're after. So to put it more succinctly, this movie is about Marla Grayson, played by Rosamund Pike, who is a court-appointed guardian. So she's a legal guardian. She portrays herself as an individual who cares about the people she's serving and the work she's doing. Her clients are primarily older people who don't have any, preferably have little or no living relatives. She legally obtains guardianship over these people and essentially swindles them out of their belongings and all their money, their earnings, so she could turn a profit, and keeps them in care at facilities until she can't anymore, until they pass away or whatever else happens. But as long as Marla wins, she could care less about the people she's helping. She really doesn't care. But that's the irony of this movie and the title, because Marla actually doesn't care about anything but Marla. Where things get interesting, though, is one of Marla's new clients ends up being more than what she bargained for. On the surface, it looks like it's an easy mark. This is an old woman who's very wealthy, has no offspring, no spouse. She lives alone. Easy for Marla. This is just another walk in the park for her. But what Marla doesn't realize is that this woman actually has a lot more going on beneath the surface. Rosamund Pike. If you've seen her in Gone Girl, you know she's amazing. She's actually really good in everything she does. She's one of those actors. Like Kate Winslet, like Kate Blanchett, like a lot of other actors out there. She's quite remarkable. She plays Marla Grayson so well that you will have feelings about how she operates. This is a movie that doesn't so much ask you to root for her, although because she's our protagonist, it automatically puts us in a position where we want her to be okay until we see the depth of of her coldness. She's quite cold and shrewd. She's a businesswoman. So she has qualities that are noteworthy. But until we see how not nice she is, we might feel a little bit differently for her. Personally, I didn't hate her as much as I found other people did. I didn't like what she was doing, and I was hoping not that she would have terrible things happen to her, but that she would learn a lesson somehow. She would. If you do any research about this movie, you'll find a lot of people talking about how Marla Grayson is essentially another version of Amy Dunn, which is her character from Gone Girl. But no one's talking about other roles that are similar, that have a few things in common. There's another role. When I first became aware of Rosamund Pike, obviously as a big James Bond fan, you'll know she was in the 20th James Bond film, Die Another Day, as a character named Miranda Frost. She's good for in the role for what it is, and she has another role several years later after that from a film called Return to Sender, which I actually thought was very good. If you seek that out, you'll find varying opinions on that too. People might not like the film, but Rosamund Pike plays a similar character to Amy Dunn, to Marla Grayson in that movie as well. In that movie, obviously, coincidentally, she's also a character named Miranda. Either way, the character of Miranda Frost, Miranda Wells, Amy Dunn, and now Marla Grayson have something in common other than the majority of these characters have names that begin with the letter M. They're all mysterious women, and they all can be boiled down to essentially sociopaths. They all operate in this place of duality, and they present themselves to the world as one way, but when we see the other sides of them, we actually find out that they're not that way at all. They are essentially walking contradictions, like all humans are. But these women that Rosamund Pike seems to gravitate to, they are more so that, like, starkly. The more I thought about Marla and the line of similar characters that Rosamund Pike has played, I thought about the characteristics that they all share also, that in some circles would be seen as unbecoming of a woman. They're all cold, they're calculating, they're manipulative, they can zone out and execute a plan with surgical precision. Speaking of zone out, like Rosamund Pike has this expression in several of her movies, you could see where the expression is cold, where it seems like there's all the warmth has drained out of her body, her face. And you see that particularly when she's in the zone of enacting whatever plan she's enacting. It's pretty remarkable. And I think it rings true for all these characters share this as well. You have to have some way, I think, for an audience to see, oh, this woman means business. She's not a joke. And then you get to see the level, like how deep that goes. It's more than just what we see on the surface. Everything she's doing underscores that, and it means more. Like, wow, she's playing it. Oh, well, she's a serious character. You go from that to, oh, she's actually not. She's not a nice person, and that could gravitate toward. It could graduate to, oh, she's a horrible person. which is what a lot of people think she is in this movie. And the other juicy thing about all these characters, Miranda Frost, Miranda Wells, Amy Dunn, Marla Grayson, those four women, they're also pretenders. They're actors too, which is interesting. They pretend to care about stuff. But and if you watch each of these movies, this is Die Another Day, Return to Sender, Gone Girl, and I Care a Lot. You'll find there is a common thread. Pay attention to Rosamund Pike in all these movies. You'll see how these women are all actors that she's playing. They're acting given a certain set of circumstances that they're operating in. They switch themselves to match whatever the scenario is at any given time. It's really fascinating, I think, when you think of all those roles together. So I think it's more than just she's playing another version of Amy Dunn. Marla Grayson also in a lot of ways is like the final form, if you will, of that kind of character. Although I don't know that you can't really go bigger. You can't play another version of that other than you can play a more expansive version of it, a more toned down version of it. And I think probably she's played a lot of shades of the same woman. If you're paying attention, you can see there are some subtle nuanced layers being shown to us on display. It's if anything, as much as you might hate her character in this movie, it's fascinating to watch the work on display. It's really good, rich work on display. I think also the fact that people hate this character is a good thing for Rosamund Pike. It shows how good she was in this role. She is the one thing about this movie that I think makes you feel anything that's even remotely warm toward Marla, because she's a hard character to get behind. Fran is easier to follow. And if you care about Marla at all, it's because of Fran. She humanizes Marla to some extent. So again, at the end of it, you might not care for Marla as a character given everything she gets up to, but you will care about Fran. Fran is like the heart. She's Marla's heart, essentially. If Marla is heartless, she has a little bit of one because she's hanging out with Fran. Peter Dinklage is another remarkable actor who's good in everything. He serves as the primary antagonist, the opposition for Marla, and what her role is. He plays a guy named Roman who comes into contact with Marla because of obviously one of Marla's clients is connected to him in some way, and that's a problem. So Roman has to get involved and sort that situation out to figure out how is he going to untangle the web that has resulted in his connection being under Marla's care. Once you start seeing the lengths that Marla will go to keep this client in her care, Roman's going to have to step up his game to shake Marla off of hers. So it's an interesting dance you get to see between the two characters. He's menacing and serious, and also he's quite funny in the movie as well. My problem with him is not so much Dinklage. It's the writing of his character. He's supposed to be this serious, hardened guy with a dark past, and I think the issue that comes up is that it's inconsistent how that's depicted. There are some instances where he shows examples of why he's so serious, and it works. The film, unfortunately, does not keep that consistent. He's not consistently threatening. I've mentioned this before, I think, about villains and antagonists and stuff, and how when a movie shows the audience why a villain is threatening, and then they maintain that throughout the movie, it makes, personally, I like when a villain is threatening and remains threatening. They don't weaken the villain at weird times. If the person is threatening, make them be that, and have them be that all the way throughout to the end. Unless something drastic happens and they have a change of heart or whatever, then they change their motives or whatever it is. That's different. But if the guy is a villain, let him be a villain throughout. And for the most part, the movie does that, but it's not consistent. There are times when I find it feels like it breaks. That breaks for me. And I could have done without that. And while we're there, I think on things that don't work as well, from the other end, when it comes to the protagonists, Marla and Fran, there are things that are written that are inconsistent too for them. You find them in situations that it feels impossible if they could get out of. In another movie, they wouldn't get out of these situations. And if they're going up against guys that are as ruthless and serious as Roman, you need to have that be. And we're getting other examples of that being confirmed, and it's not the same thing for Marla and Fran. That doesn't jive either. That's not consistent, and so that's a problem. So you might find that an issue in the plotting and the writing. Ultimately, say what you will, this is a good movie. You would have to be the judge about what you think. I do recommend a watch just for Rosamund Pike and the work she does in this movie. She does fantastic work. For the three leads, Eliza Gonzalez, Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage, I think they do good work, and they're worth a look. And again, ultimately, I didn't have the same hate toward the movie or Marla as a character that most people did, and I didn't want terrible things to happen to her, like I found a lot of people also did. But I wanted her to learn something from how she's moving, because it's not fair, and it's unfortunate that this is the kind of thing she's doing is not new. Like we talked about previously with Carter Hayes in the Pacific Heights movie. He's a similar character, but it's I think the feeling is different. You will feel similarly, Lily, about both characters in some way, but I feel like Marla, she operates in a space that is uniquely extra not nice. The best way to look at it is a cautionary tale, like Icarus flew too close to the sun type of situation. I think if you look at it like that, as a package, maybe you might feel a little bit better with it, because you could have a degree of distance from it. You have a degree of separation from it, and maybe you don't feel as emotionally invested. I think look at it as a cautionary tale, and that's the best thing I can leave you with. Give it a think. That's going to do it for this review on I Care a Lot. Thank you again for taking the time for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Come on back. You know what time it is. More reviews on the way. See you in the next video.